Dad says if you disappeared tomorrow, no one would even notice. That's what my 13-year-old niece said while unboxing the $850 phone I had just given her for her birthday. She was laughing. So were the other kids. My brother, her father, chuckled loudest. Her mother shook her head like she was so amused by the harmless joke. 30 people in that backyard. Balloons, cake, music, and not one of them looked shocked. Not one person said, "Hey, that's not okay." They all just smiled, except me. I stood there, holding a plate of half-melted strawberry shortcake, and nodded. I didn't cry. I didn't throw the phone. I didn't ask if they really thought so little of me after everything I'd done for them. I just smiled like it didn't hurt. Then I tapped twice on my phone, first to lock the banking app, second to disable every card tied to my account. No more groceries. No more utilities. No more auto payments on the car I leased for my brother 3 years ago when his credit couldn't get him a bicycle. No more college fund deposits for my niece. No more emergency bailouts. No more covering short months just until Friday. I left the party early. No scene. No explanations. Just said I was tired, gave my niece a kiss on the forehead, and wished her a happy birthday. Like her words hadn't just confirmed the truth I'd been afraid to face for years. That night, I packed a single black backpack, laptop, passport, cash, 2 changes of clothes. I left my apartment keys on the counter, canceled the lease, deleted my family's contacts, and disappeared before sunrise. No note, no warning, just the backpack. Inside it, along with the charger cables and toothbrush, was a folder, a sealed envelope labeled in bold black ink. Since you wouldn't notice if I disappeared, here's what you'll Mississippi. I left it on my brother's kitchen table, next to the stack of bills I used to pay for him. I wasn't supposed to be the one who held it all together. Growing up, my brother Jordan was the golden one. Charismatic, athletic, charming in a way that made people excuse everything. My mom used to joke, Naomi gets straight A's, but Jordan gets people to clap for him. They clapped through every mess he made, through his suspended license, failed business ventures, his second DUI. Meanwhile, I got a pat on the head and a reminder to be responsible whenever I asked for help with college forms or rent during grad school. Still, I didn't push back. I figured that's what older sisters do. They lead by example. They clean up quietly. So I got a degree in finance, found a decent job, and started sending money home the minute I could. At first, it was small. $100 here, $200 there when Jordan just needed help with daycare. But it grew. By 27, I was paying part of his mortgage. By 29, I had taken over the car and note for a vehicle I didn't drive, just to keep his family mobile. When his wife, Sierra, was between jobs, I covered groceries and utilities just for 2 months. 2 turned into 12. They said thank you, sometimes. But over time, the gratitude dried up. It wasn't a gift anymore, it was an expectation. They'd say things like, "You're lucky you don't have kids. You make more than we do, it's easy for you. You know family means helping without keeping score." But they kept score in their own way. Every holiday became a test. How much could I give? How quietly could I give it? And how easily could I be overlooked afterward? When I forgot to send my niece a birthday gift 2 years ago, Sierra told me she cried. Jordan texted, "You know how much she looks up to you." So this year I went big. The newest iPhone, a limited edition case, personalized accessories, and in return, she giggled at my existence like I was a joke her father had taught her to laugh at. Dad says if you disappeared tomorrow. That line didn't come from nowhere. It was inherited, absorbed, casually passed down over dinner tables. I helped fund. And I realized something. I wasn't a sister. I wasn't even family. I was just a bank account with a heartbeat. Until I decided to shut down the account and walk away, not just from the bills, but from the idea that love was something I had to buy to be respected. That birthday party wasn't the first red flag. It was just the first time they didn't bother to hide it. The signs had been there for years. Little things, paper cuts that didn't bleed until they all hit at once. Like the time I paid for Jordan's car repair and asked him to send me the invoice for records. He laughed and said, "You're not the IRS, Naomi. Relax." Or when Sierra casually mentioned in front of mutual friends that I was basically the safety net of the family, followed by a sip of wine and a smirk like she was proud of the arrangement. They made me the fallback plan, then mocked me for being stable. But the clearest sign? My niece. She'd always been sweet as a kid, but over the last year or two, something shifted. She stopped calling me Aunt Naomi. Started calling me Naomi instead, like I was an employee at a store. Asked me how much money I made. Said things like, "Dad says you're lucky to have us, or you'd be totally alone." At first, I blamed social media. Then I blamed her age. But that day at the party, I realized she was just repeating what she heard. She didn't come up with that on her own. She was mimicking the script her parents gave her. Jordan had built this narrative that I was bitter, that I was lonely, that I had no life outside of helping them. And the worst part, I had proven him right for a long time. Because I didn't set boundaries. Because I said yes to things that felt like no. Because I gave them everything, and they never thought I'd take anything back. Even my mom, before she passed, once said, "You can't expect people to thank you forever for doing the right thing." She meant it as wisdom, but it felt like a warning. Because what's the right thing when the people you're sacrificing for are teaching their child to laugh at your existence? And that's when it hit me. This wasn't just carelessness. It was contempt with a smile. They didn't forget I mattered. They actively decided I didn't. And once you realize you've been downgraded from person to provider, there's no unseeing it. So I made peace with what I had to do. Not out of rage, not out of revenge, but out of self-respect. Because if they could teach a child that my disappearance wouldn't matter, then I'd show them what my absence really looked like. When I left that party, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't even drive home angry. I just rolled the windows down and let the wind wash over me like water on old paint. By the time I got back to my apartment, the plan had already begun forming. I didn't want drama. I wanted distance. Permanent, untouchable distance. First, I logged into every banking and payment system I'd ever used to support them. My name was everywhere. Utility bills, emergency funds, shared family apps. I disconnected all of it. I froze the credit card Jordan used for gas emergencies. I closed the joint account I'd opened to help manage my niece's future college fund. It had been sitting empty for months. They hadn't contributed a single dollar. Then I checked the lease on my apartment. Month to month. Easy. I found a short-term sublet 3 cities away. No questions asked, fully furnished. Paid the first 3 months up front in cash. Next, I clear my digital footprint. New email. New number. Password resets on everything. I logged out of all shared Netflix, Spotify, and Hulu accounts they still used under my name. And I changed those passwords too. Not out of pettiness. Out of precision. Because if I was going to disappear, I was going to do it completely. I backed up what I needed. Cleared out my personal storage unit. Dropped off 2 boxes at a donation center and sold off what I didn't want to carry. What I kept fit into 1 bag. Black backpack. Simple. Durable. Mine. Inside, I placed a few essentials. My passport. My laptop. A USB drive with all my financial records. 2 sets of clothes. A picture of my mother, taken before she got sick, smiling, arms around me at a park when I was 8. And 1 folder. Inside it, a single document titled, "Everything I paid for, so you don't have to wonder." It listed every major payment I'd ever made for my brother and his family. Dates, amounts, categories. I wasn't trying to shame them. I was just making it real. Because people like them never think the person holding them up will actually let go. They think the guilt will keep you around. But guilt is a leash, and I had just slipped out of mine. That night, before I left town, I dropped the backpack off at Jordan's house. Quietly. No knock. No text. Just placed it on the kitchen table, using the spare key I was never supposed to keep. I knew they'd find it, and when they opened it, they'd finally understand what it meant to joke about someone's disappearance, and then feel it. The morning after I vanished, I turned off my phone and left it in a drawer. It buzzed 22 times in the first hour. Jordan, Sierra, a few cousins, even my niece. I didn't answer a single one. Instead, I sat on a balcony 3 cities away, wrapped in a sweater, sipping black coffee I didn't have to share. I stared at a street I didn't recognize, full of people who didn't know me, and felt something strange settle in my chest. Relief. Not because they were finally calling, but because I no longer had to care. The silence I gave them wasn't punishment, it was education. And apparently the first lesson hit hard. According to a mutual friend who didn't know I'd left on purpose, Jordan showed up at my apartment the next day, banging on the door, shouting my name. He called the leasing office. They told him I'd moved out. No forwarding address. No contact info. He looked stunned, apparently. Said it wasn't like me. The next day, he opened the backpack. My friend said Sierra called her crying. Not because I was gone, but because the college fund was real and now closed. Then came the dominoes. Their utility bills bounced. The car payment was rejected. The phone lines went unpaid. Even the Hulu subscription cut out mid-show. It wasn't rage that followed. It was desperation dressed as concern. Voicemails rolled in like waves. Naomi, this isn't funny. Where are you? I know things got tense, but you can't just disappear. You didn't even say goodbye to your niece. We're family. They only remembered I was family after I stopped behaving like a servant. They only noticed I was gone after the flow of benefits dried up. My niece messaged me, too. A shaky apology. I didn't mean what I said. I was just repeating what Dad said. I'm sorry. Please come back. I felt a pang, a sharp, unexpected one, but I let it pass because I knew it wasn't her fault. She was just born into their script, and I'd lived in that script for too long, so I stayed gone. I built routines, bought groceries for one, found a new therapist, started writing again, opened a savings account that had only my name on it, learned how it felt to buy something without calculating who else I had to take care of first. And every day I didn't hear from them, I healed a little more. Eventually, the messages stopped. No apology, no real remorse. Just a silence that used to terrify me and now freed me. I didn't need closure. I didn't need payback. Because they finally understood the one thing they never respected before. What I gave them had value, and now it was gone. The collapse didn't happen all at once. It came in layers, cracks widening slowly, like a house built on sand after the waters pulled away. A month after I disappeared, Jordan and Sierra showed up to a family gathering without gifts, without smiles, and, according to my cousin Maya, without pride. People asked where I was. They said I was going through something. Maya told me later that Sierra tried to laugh it off. She's just emotional. You know Naomi, always sensitive. But when someone asked, didn't she pay for your car? Sierra's smile faltered. They didn't know what to say when people stopped laughing, because I wasn't there to make it easy anymore. Then came the job drama. Jordan lost a freelance contract after his credit score tanked from missed payments on the car I'd stopped covering. The car itself was repossessed one morning while he was inside a gas station. A friend caught the whole thing on video, him running out, coffee in hand, yelling at the tow truck. It made it to a local meme page with the caption, "When your family backup vanishes mid-fantasy." Sierra had to move back in with her sister when their rent jumped and they couldn't cover it. They sold the expensive gadgets. The iPhone I bought for my niece? Gone. The little luxuries they used to justify while I was paying the essentials? All vanished. But worse than the money was the exposure. People started talking. Because when the resource leaves, so does the illusion. Jordan had always painted himself as the big brother who held the family together. But people started seeing the truth. He was leaning on someone he disrespected. At church, people asked where Naomi was. At school, my niece had to explain why they moved again. The golden house of cards image my family had curated, stable, put together, blessed, it crumbled. And the black backpack? They never mentioned it again. But I know they read every word inside that envelope. Because when Maya went over to help Sierra pack, she saw it sitting in the closet. Untouched. Preserved like it still held a chance to be undone. But it couldn't be. Because that backpack didn't just contain a list. It contained a boundary. The first one I ever enforced. And like most firsts, it changed everything. People think walking away means you're running from something. But I wasn't running. I was finally walking toward something. Toward myself. I spent the first few weeks in silence, reading, journaling, sleeping without alarms, and eating food that didn't come from a takeout bag someone else charged to my account. It was strange at first hearing no one call my name, no one asking for anything, no guilt hovering over every breath I took. But eventually the quiet became a song, and I started to live. I picked up freelance consulting work, nothing heavy, just a few clients I chose on my own terms. One of them was a nonprofit that helped low-income women understand credit, budgeting, and financial abuse. I read the stories, helped rebuild ruined credit reports, and slowly realized I wasn't just healing. I was helping others heal, too. I found a cozy studio with hardwood floors and big windows. No shared utilities. No one else on the lease. Just mine. I hung up art for the first time. Cooked real meals. Even bought myself a new coffee maker. One no one else would break or borrow. I got a cat. Named her Indy. She doesn't ask for much. Just a quiet lap and a warm sunbeam. We get each other. One afternoon, while cleaning out the last of my storage bins, I found an old sticky note my mom had written me in college. Don't let them mistake your silence for weakness. Love, Mom. I cried for a long time when I read that. Not because I was sad, but because, in a way, she saw this moment long before I did. She knew what it meant to give without boundaries. And she knew the cost. I framed the note and placed it by my door. A reminder, silence isn't surrender. It's strategy. The last piece of closure came when I got a letter from my niece. Handwritten. I'm sorry for what I said. I didn't mean it. I was trying to sound cool. I didn't know what you did for us. I know now. She ended it with, I hope you're happy, Aunt Naomi. I miss you. I didn't write back. Not yet. But I kept the letter. Because maybe one day I'll tell her the whole story. Not to make her feel bad, but to help her learn something no one ever taught me. That being kind doesn't mean being used. And being family doesn't mean being furniture. It's been 6 months. The texts have stopped. The apologies faded. The panic quieted. And in their place, something bloomed. Not spite. Not victory. Space. Real, uninterrupted space. The kind you don't realize you need until you stop giving pieces of yourself away just to feel included. I still think about them sometimes. Not with anger. With clarity. I remember birthdays spent organizing gifts I paid for. Holidays where I stood behind camera, capturing moments I wasn't invited to be part of. Conversations where I laughed on cue, even when the joke was at my expense. But now, I go to cafes alone, read books without checking my phone. I dance while folding laundry. I sit on the floor just because I can. I exist unobserved and unrequired. And it's the freest I've ever been. The black backpack I left behind, I know they still have it, probably tucked away somewhere, probably untouched but never forgotten, because what I gave them that day wasn't just silence or absence. It was a mirror. Everything they found inside, the receipts, the list, the boundaries, the exit, that was the reflection of who I had been all along and the line they never thought I'd draw. Maybe one day they'll talk about it honestly. Maybe they'll tell the truth. But I'm not waiting for that. I'm building something else. My own story, a life not lived in the shadows of "you're so helpful," or "we'd be lost without you." They always said I was the quiet one, the soft one, the one who'd never walk away. They were right until the day they finally gave me the reason to. I don't know where they are now. I don't ask, and I don't look back, because when someone jokes that your disappearance wouldn't matter, there's only one thing left to do. Make it unforgettable